thanks for joining us on News Hour 2. My name is Sani Abdurrahman. In this package, we'll be bringing you the very latest as to all that has been happening in the country and beyond. We start with some weather reports because the southern part of the Volta region towards the capital Accra have been hit with storms and destructive winds and heavy rains on Wednesday. The massive storms are progressing to the central and western regions according to the Ghana Meteorological Agency. The rainstorm has induced cloudiness over the affected regions. In Accra, motorists have been caught up in monumental traffic jams across major highways, forcing some drivers to pull over briefly. The storm has become topical on social media, with users sharing images and videos of their experience. Joining us for more on the storms is the head central analysis and forecasting at the Meteo, Felicity Ahiafianyo. Thank you so much, Madam, for your time this afternoon. The wind is gusting through at a quiet high meters per hour along highways and coastal areas. Is that what to expect for this year's rain season?
Yeah, thank you so much, and good afternoon to our dear viewers and listeners. For the start of the rains, these are the type of rains that we are anticipating for 2022 rain season.
Well, so should we expect a more powerful or dangerous storm this year per your forecast, and which part of the country would be the most affected?
Thank you. For the West dangerous, that one I would like to drop it a bit. We're anticipating moderate to high risk, and then as and when it approaches, we will let the public know through your platform. But then once we have the energy, that's the sun, definitely we'll be having the thunderstorms with lightning, and then at times accompanied by strong winds. And then the areas that are going to be affected for now is mostly going to be every part of the country. But then it's going to be like maybe Greater Accra we're experiencing today, then another time it's Ashanti, then another time it's part of the northern sector. Then once a while we'll have the whole country also experiencing it on a single day, just like what we are experiencing today. We have two separate storms, one moved over the northern portion and one over the coast and then part of the middle sector. So later, those over Brong will also be affected. So for today, it's going to be the whole country. So this is how it's going to be.
The farmers, more especially, would want to know if we are going to have heavy or light rains this year, of course, to guide their activities. You just indicated what to expect this year. But to guide their farming activities, what should they be expecting?
Okay. Number one on the list is that you have been trying very well for us. We believe that from henceforth, you should resume back the telecast of the broadcast, the weather broadcast to the general public. And if possible, during the first thing in the morning, you can broadcast it to them so that they can also pick it and then work with it. And then we have different types of forecasts too. So the general public should also have a keen interest to know what the weather will be for the day. Then they can also prepare themselves. Now, when we announce, or wherever you are, and you observe that the clouds are gathering and they are becoming darker, the winds have started picking up, it is good to advise yourself not to be under a tree, number one, not to be in a weak structure, number two, and then if you are driving, it is advisable for us to drive at a very reduced speed. If you see a standing water, it's good you don't drive through it unless you are aware that the depth of it is okay for you to drive through. But then aside that, you need to negotiate around it so that you don't get yourself into a gutter. And then for us that have gutters around our houses, this is the time that we should refill the gutters so that when the runoff water comes, it can find its way and then go. If you are the low-lying areas too, we should start packing our sandbags ready so that once the ground soaks and they start coming, we can use it for our good.
Felicity, very finally, I read on social media a user recommending that the Meteo issues a red alert following what we've seen in Accra, the big storms. Is that something you're considering, or it's not up to that level yet?
Now we have a new template that we are using. We call it the impact-based weather forecast. On it, we give you the areas that will be affected and the time, and then we give you what action that you needed to take. So when you see green, that means that you should be ready. When you see yellow, that means that you should be expected that the thing will come. But then the probability is between 40 to 60. Then you have to take an action that this one is happening. So you then have to move wherever you are. So that is the template that we are using now. So that when you pick it, you know that between now and 10, you are clear. Between 12 and 2, the rain will be over my area, so you know what to do. That is the format that we are going to use, and we started using it already.
Thank you so much, Felicity. Felicity Ahafianyo is the head central analysis and forecasting at the Meteo, and has been helping us with what we're seeing in some part of the Volta region and the Greater Accra region. Of course, we are told that the storms are progressing to the western and central region, and residents there will have to take some precautions in terms of advice that the Meteo has been given to ensure that they protect their lives and property. Now, let's stay a while with the environment, because local leaders for communities within the Awana Beach in the Shamat district of the Western region are appealing for urgent support to residents affected by the tidal waves. Hundreds of homes have been affected by the waves, and there is an urgent need for a sea defense wall to save the community from further destruction. Our Western regional correspondent Desmond Kujo has been speaking with the affected residents. Let's take a listen.
5:30 na ya free sakre gomba na apunu started ego akronum nti ya ba hwe no abaya kwesira anufana apuna ba fa yanyama nyina yanyama asai yenam yesika yehu bebia yelefa nti yesika so wayo yakasra obi na dan yedem nusu ahona so apunu afa abanu wamboye na wahwe baby mai na yenda sese ya rebre ya ni juma bia ya baye asana ya nyeska ade ato ade atinti akomusoliti.
This tiger wave, eventually it has been happening to us for a very long time, let's say since 1995. Recently it started last 4 days ago, but yesterday one has been very serious and massive one that causes things. Our properties have gone. Thankful to God that nobody died. As you can see for yourself, houses and our dresses that we've been using have been buried into ground. We can't find some of them. We need help. Anona Beach need very serious help. If it should be relocation or sea defense, it should be very immediately. We are not safe here.
We stay a while on this subject because about 100 units of 2-bedroom houses expected to be put up for those displaced by the recent tidal waves in the Volta region. Work on the first 15 out of these houses is expected to begin in 2 weeks, barring any unforeseen circumstances. The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, disclosed this after touring areas that were hit by the disaster last Sunday. 37 acres of land have been secured at Salakofe for the relocation of the affected families.
Continue to ravage some coastal communities in the Volta region. In April last year, the waves destroyed many houses and displaced more than 1,000 people in 2 districts and a municipality all along the Volta coast. The tidal waves have almost destroyed the Aplao-Keta road, threatening to cut off Agavaji, Amutinu and Salakope from the rest of the Ketu South municipality. The wild waves that came last Sunday hit more than 80 houses and displaced about 300 people at Salakope, Agavaji and Amutinu. The hospitality facility was also not spared by the ravaging sea action. By the time the Volta Regional Minister and the NADMO officials visited the area, life was back to normal and the waves had receded. The Ketu South Municipal Chief Executive, Mr. Maxwell Lugudo, said construction works on 15 of the 100 units of the houses was expected to begin in 2 weeks.
We will soon start with the 15 units, 2-bedroom house as quickly as possible. We are expecting to build at least 100 for them so that it can cater for the people who are affected.
The regional minister is happy the disaster victims have accepted to be relocated to higher grounds.
Initially, people will be reluctant to be relocated, but now I think the suggestion for relocation has been accepted by the people. So I think we are happy with what is being done. So we are expecting that within the next another year, if we are able to do 50 of the units, that will accommodate a lot of the people.
Government's promise to carry out a sea defense project at Agavaji is yet to materialize.
We'll go back to the Western region and speak with Desmond Kujo, our correspondent there, who has been monitoring the impact of the tidal waves in the region. Desmond, thank you so much for your time. Has residents affected, received some sort of support from NADMO?
Well, Jonathan, what I can tell you is that we also experienced similar problem at Amunakum Beach in the Shamar district, where the tidal waves also destroyed a couple of structures along the beach, houses, farmland, schools, and churches and others, and also destroyed personal effects of the people. So that is the situation on the ground.
When you say it has affected school, does that mean school activities have been brought to a halt as structures have been affected by the waves?
Yes, for now, because there's only one school. Auna Beach is not a big community. It's kind of a hamlet, a fishing farming community, populated by settlers, fishers, and farmers. So there's only one school in the community. So the waves actually destroyed the school, the church, and others. So as I speak to you now, there's no school for those primary school kids.
And what have you been gathering in terms of your engagement with authorities as to how they are dealing with this tragedy and also providing relief to the affected residents?
Well, the issues are this is not the first time this is happening. It's been perennial. Every time they try to make efforts to relocate the people from the seashore to higher grounds, but the people actually do not agree to that because they are used to their place. But it is the recent tidal waves that destroy a lot of things that they have agreed to be relocated. So the Shamar District Chief Executive, in the company of the National Coordinator of NADMO, they came around, spoke to the people, gave them some relief items, and the people gave the assurance that they are ready to be relocated. So the Chief Executive has given a go-ahead for efforts to be made so that the relocation process can kick in.
And in terms of the sea defense wall, have you gathered any detail as to when such a project would start?
We have no idea because there's no attempt at all for the construction of the sea defense at Amunakum Beach. If you go to Shamar and other place, you have a couple of sea defense projects on the line, but at that of Amunakum Beach, they're starting there at all. So we don't know if very soon we're going to have one. That one I cannot tell.
Well, thank you so much, Desmond. Keep your eye on the development there. We'll come back to you for more analysis. In fact, we've been having a series of reports in some of the regions that have been affected by the tidal waves and what authorities are doing to mitigate the impact. And of course, a major part of this discussion has been the construction of sea defense wall across some part of the affected areas so that the impact would be mitigated. Let's go to the Ashanti region because there is mounting tension and agitation among inhabitants of Pramso in the Bosomtwe districts following the relocation of the town's main cemetery to a new site 30 meters from a water source known as River Danyami, which also serves as, which connects two water bodies in that area. Now, residents are worried about the possible contamination risk to water sources, and our Ashanti regional correspondent, Nicholas Osewusu, joins us with some details. Nicholas, if you can hear me, what have you been gathering from residents who are agitating following this development? Nicholas, can you hear me? We seem to be having a challenge with the line, but we are working to raise Nicholas back on the line to tell us why residents in the Pramso and the Bosomtwe district are agitating following the relocation of the town's cemetery, and that has become a source of concern for residents there. But we'll raise Nicholas to give us the details later. The GBEWAA interchange has undoubtedly lifted the image of Tamale and established the place as the gateway to the northern Ghana. However, the activities of some residents are creating unease and fears of accidents waiting to happen. Our northern regional correspondent, Murtala Isa, visited the northern section of the overpass and comes through with these reports.
When President Akufo-Addo inaugurated the 1.1-kilometer GBEWAA interchange in Tamale last week, he cautioned residents against reckless use of the highway, which could lead to accidents.
I appeal to the users of the facility, especially drivers, to adhere to the various road safety measures put in place for the safe use of the facility.
However, a visit to the area today shows that some pedestrians have thrown the president's caution to the wind. Pedestrians, including school children, can be seen loitering around in an attempt to cross the highway. What makes the situation worse is the absence of road markings, including zebra crossing, to allow easy access to either end of the road.
What is happening here is a major danger awaiting to happen. Pedestrians crossing anyhow without any markings, motor riders crossing from one end to the other, the pavements, without going down to use the U-turn.
Look at the road, it has been well constructed, and we are very grateful to the president for putting up such edifice to propel the beauty of the northern region. But it looks as if there are more works to be done on it. There are no zebra crossing along this lane, and people are taking advantage of abusing the crossing of the road. So we would like to appeal to the Metro Director to see to it that they put the zebra crossings and also put in the directional signs that will give guides to people who are using the road.
The crossing is terrible. I think they have to educate people how to really cross the road. You can just imagine this right now. Look at what this woman is trying to do over there. He's trying to cross with a motorbike. So at least there should be a footbridge for the pedestrians to use. Moreover, people like walking on it. I don't know whether it's a walkway or an interchange or whatever. So we just need more education on that. I think that one will help.
Residents are urging city authorities to therefore create a footbridge for walking over and find a way of controlling motor riders from crossing the pavement anyhow. Murtala Isa for GBC News.
Of course, residents need some sort of sensitization to avoid any sort of casualty. We go back to our earlier story where there is mounting tension and agitation among inhabitants of Pramso in the Bosomtwe district of the Ashanti region following the relocation of the town's main cemetery to a new site, and this has caused a lot of confusion among residents in the area. Joining us with some more details on this latest development is our Ashanti region correspondent Nicholas Osewusu. Nicholas, what exactly are the concerns of the residents?
Yeah, Sandy, the issues are quite a number of the issues that have been brought up by the people in the in the Washington district. One of the issues is that part of the existing or the current cemetery, which is closer to the community and by the roadside, has been ceded to the government for the construction of the dual carriage road. That is stretching from Chapatia near Kumasi to Abono in the Abono, one of the communities around the around Lake Bukuchi. So when originally that was not the plan, but once government decided to expand the road into a dual carriage, it means that the community had to be part of the cemetery for the construction of the road. And so there has been an agreement, a consensus among the district assembly, the traditional leadership of Kamso, and then the people of Kamso. So they have all agreed. And the consensus, one of the consensus group was that those graves that were to be affected by the expansion of the road are to be relocated to the same or another part of the same cemetery. And so there wasn't much of agitation, or there wasn't any agitation by the community. They agreed to do that at their own cohort, a cost-sharing mechanism among them and then the district assembly. But the concern of the people is that after they had accepted this agreement with the assembly and the traditional leadership, the chief of the town has given a directive that those who are going to exhume their bodies of their relatives are no more supposed to relocate to the other parts of the existing cemetery. That a new cemetery has been allocated for the community, where both new bodies and the existing ones or old ones that were exhumed from the current cemetery are supposed to be buried. And the concerns of the people is that this is, to some extent, a unilateral decision by the chief of the town. Then also, the other concern is that they are talking about the distance from the township to where the new cemetery is to be located. The other concern is that I went there myself to see and to verify the complaints that people were making. But when I went there, the observations I made were that, one, the distance between where the new cemetery is located, or where the bodies have been buried, the fresh ones have been buried, the distance from there and the river they call Denyame is just about 30 meters apart. And that river, I'm told, is the source to three other rivers downstream. And along that river are crop farms that use the river. And that's the river.
Okay, Nicholas.
And the cemetery is also located within a developing or expanding area where new facilities are being put up. And very close to a church building that is also being put up.
Okay, so Nicholas, I'm not cutting you, but I want to understand the role that the health and environmental authorities played in the exhumation of the bodies, because this certainly has some health implication if it's not done properly.
Yes, because of this issue, I had to follow up to the district assembly at Point Place, the district capital, to find out from office, engage with the district chief executive, Mr. Joseph Ashimi, to find out whether or not the assembly is aware of the development in the community as far as the title of the new cemetery is concerned. And he was emphatic that the assembly is aware of the allocation of a new block or new site for the relocation of the cemetery. And the consensus or the agreement that has been reached between the assembly and the traditional leadership was that new site is supposed to be utilized by people who have lost their relatives from the time of the agreement. So it is only meant for people who are going to bury their dead relatives after the agreement, and not those who the bodies that were supposed to be exhumed from the old cemetery. And he has emphasized the fact that the location or the title of the new cemetery was based on technical advice from the authorities of the assembly. So he has no difficulty in the situation except anybody or somebody has a superior argument about the starting of the new cemetery. Apart from that, that will stand.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for bringing us up to speed on the development. Quite disturbing to see bodies in the open like that. We will follow up with the regional and national authorities as to how they will deal with this very disturbing issue. In the Upper East region, there is a ban on the use of cargo trucks, vehicles and tricycles, popularly known as motorking, meant for carrying goods from transporting passengers. The Upper East Regional Police Command says the use of these vehicles for purposes other than what they are meant for is a major cause for road crashes, sometimes fatal. The police says this emerging trend in the region is legally prohibited.
Regional Police Public Relations Officer ASP David Fianco Ochre said in line with their mandate to protect life and property, the Upper East Regional Police Command therefore serves notice to all motorking riders, passengers and transport owners who engage in such illegality to immediately put a stop to it, as when found culpable shall be prosecuted. He says though it serves as a means of transportation to some in the region, it is causing major injuries and sometimes lives. He says the exercise, which takes immediate effect, is expected to be enforced alongside educating the people on the law.
We are saying that to protect lives and property, we will not say that we live in a village and the fact that we do not have better means of transport, so we should engage in illegality. In fact, when before this Abubuya, people were still traveling from the villages to this place. So now they are resorting to the use of Kandu, which is fine for passengers. We are managing that one. But for the Abubuya, you know, it's not conducive. There is nothing protecting the people sitting in that vehicle. And accidents that we have recorded in the region in recent times involve that motorking, which sometimes result to fatality. This is what we want to prevent.
The police PRO said apart from such exercise being dangerous to riders, drivers and passengers, the act is in complete violation of the Road Traffic Regulations of 2012, Regulation 128. ASP Fianco Ochre said anyone who engages in such activity will be arrested and the means of transport impounded for prosecution.
For this motorking, we are saying it's no-go area. They are not permitted to carry human beings, that is passengers. If they have goods in their villages and they are bringing it to the town, no police officer will stop them or deny them from using that. But when we see human beings in them, for that one, we'll arrest the rider who are normally not licensed person to ride.
ASP David Fianco is cautioning passengers traveling within the region to do so in appropriate means of transport described as passenger vehicles. The command says justification on arrest that occupants are traveling to church, mosque, graduation, farms or other social gathering shall not be accepted.
Back in Accra Parliament on Tuesday, April 5, ended the first meeting of the second session of the 8th Parliament of the Fourth Republic. The House spent a total of 11 weeks working on varied subjects, including the controversial electronic transaction levy, which is now a law. The e-levy bill was passed after a month of back and forth between the majority and minority in Parliament. The minority has since dragged the Attorney General to the Supreme Court, challenging the passage of the e-levy over a lack of voting quorum when the bill was passed. Just before rising, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Bagbin, moved for 3 MPs, Sarah Josafo, Henry Kote and Kennedy Japan, to be referred to the Privileges Committee for consideration for their continuous absenteeism in the House. And this has generated a lot of conversation since yesterday. We've heard from some members of the minority supporting the move and also some kicking against it, arguing that it will set a dangerous precedent. We have on the line Dr. Ali Dusedi, a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, to help us examine some of the issues that engaged Parliament during the 15-week sitting. Thank you so much, sir, for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Give us a general view from where you sit of the just ended session of Parliament, looking at the many challenges that preceded the sitting and what transpired within the 11-week period.
So the current session of Parliament, of the 8th Parliament of Ghana, has witnessed a lot of successes and a little bit of challenges. So when you are looking at this particular session, what actually drew my attention and to the outside world was the speaker's mode of dressing. I think he made it categorically clear that he wants to exhibit and sell Ghana's cultural underpinning of the way we dress to the outside world, rather than just wear the normal official attire of the speaker in presiding. He said he would do that just in special occasions. It is very important in actually revolutionizing the way we dress as leaders of state institutions that espouses our culture and try as much as possible to reflect our current circumstances and aspirations of people. So it was very remarkable, but also the behind-the-scenes negotiations that came up stronger in this last bit and forestalled the fiscal fiscals that used to bedevil the Parliament that just ended, the session that just ended before this one. So we saw less of the fiscal fight and more of a dialogue behind the scenes, but also the bringing in of the power of another arm of government, that is the Supreme Court, in most cases to interpret the meaning of the constitutional provisions related to the work of Parliament and also to the standing orders. And I think it was on this that we saw the Supreme Court decision on the issue of quorum for doing business and quorum for voting, but also the fact that deputy speakers can vote while they preside. And we saw this particular decision being used in disapproving some issues about laws that came under the committee level, but also the eventual passage of the e-levy, which the minority believed that the issue of the quorum for making a decision wasn't met and have gone back to the Supreme Court. So largely we have seen the whole concept of checks and balances and separation of powers between the executive and the judiciary coming in strongly in this particular session. Also the issue of absenteeism became very important issue. The fact that a lot of MPs were not coming to Parliament to do the day-to-day business for which they were elected for. And that subsequently led to the petition by a former MP for Kumbungu and the Speaker of Parliament referring 3 members of Parliament to the Privileges Committee for further action. And we also saw the decision of the Minority Chief Whip, Honorable Muntakamo Bawek, also speaking very strongly against this and filing a motion to reverse that particular decision. So by and large, the numbers issue, the role of the Supreme Court in the work of Parliament, the Speaker's attire, and the less fiscal and more dialogue have characterized this particular Parliament. And the eventual passage of the controversial e-levy has been one of the hallmarks of this particular ended session.
Dr. Saidu, in the past we've heard concerns that the legislature has become a rubber stamp of the executive. Whatever comes from the executive, you find the legislature passing it because numbers were in favor of whoever was at the helm of affairs. Did that change in this session, looking at the hung nature of the House?
Yes, I think these 8 Parliament have been more critical of the policies coming from the executive arm of government than the previous Parliament before the 8th Parliament in the 4th Republic. And it all speaks to the numbers game like you've mentioned. In the past, the government that is in power, political parties in power, usually have majority of seats in parliament. So the MPs mostly do the bidding of the executive arm of government. This time it is very difficult because of the very close, balanced nature of parliament. Those things are not happening. But one thing that has also become a serious issue was the allegation that the executive is enticing the best brains from parliament to serve in boards, in committees, and as part of the executive as ministers or deputy ministers, which also creates that element of leverage of the executive over the legislative arm of government. And I think the Speaker of Parliament made it categorically clear that moving forward, he's going to fight this if those kind of appointments to use the state boards are not made through him. So there are various ways that the executive can express leverage over the legislature, and that also makes them warm up to the interests of the executive. Even though the numbers are working in this parliament than in the previous parliament, but these other pegs have been used to control members of parliament in a way that inure to the benefit of the executive.
Dr. Alidu, thank you so much. Time will not permit us to further the discussion. Of course, we catch up again in our subsequent bulletins. Female cocoa farmers in various cocoa districts in the Ahafo region and other parts of the country have been sensitized about sharing their success stories in the cocoa sector to promote women empowerment and growth in the sector. The program was organized by Cocoa Life Ghana and its implementing partners, including Abantu for Development and Child Rights International. Oforo Adako has more in the following reports.
Female cocoa farmers form an essential part of the cocoa supply chain's workforce, and yet it is said that their work is often unrecognized and undervalued. To change the narrative and celebrate the achievement of female cocoa farmers and raise awareness against gender bias, the Cocoa Life program, which was held at Goso in the Ahafo region, created a gender dialogue platform for female cocoa farmers and traditional leaders for a collective action to break cultural barriers in cocoa districts in the country.
Emedi mwakutni bebre we yenyu medie bebre mu na wo hwe koko edwumedie kura Cocoa Life mu yedia emedi mwakutni bebre ewo mu die si enema bebre si ye kwan nanso emaye boy homodin bebre.
The country lead of Cocoa Life Ghana, Madam Yapepa Amekuji, noted that women are essential for cocoa growing communities to thrive. Therefore, it is important to bridge the gender gap to allow more women into the sector.
That's a workshop. I did bread man or be back to their doorstep. Into your butter pan, see ye yisa biases nina na. Kuntunjumano etumi akoso amandachi nchirimani mina abe dihun faso.
As part of its commitment to empower 818 partner cocoa growing communities to foster development goals, Cocoa Life Ghana presented 1,636 bicycles to focal persons in their various communities to promote development in cocoa farming activities. For GBC News, Ofori Wadako reporting.
Overspeeding, drunk driving, overloading, red light jumping, among others, are some of the major causes of road accidents in Ghana. According to the World Health Organization, about 1.25 million people die each year as a result of road crashes. The menace remains a major public health and development challenge. As the Easter activities approach, the Director of Road, Engineer David Osafo-Adonten, Director, National Road Safety Authority, was on GTV Breakfast and had a word of caution for the general public.
COVID pandemic, then I think perhaps if you want to talk about road crashes and casualties, then it should be something even beyond pandemic. Because if you compare the periods from 2020, when we first recorded COVID, to date, the number of deaths and you want to do that even with 1 year of road crashes, it comes nowhere near. So we are right to say that it is something beyond pandemic. But you see, it is something that we have lived with over years. And so sometimes perhaps we think it is normal. We live in a country, in a system, in a global environment where you and I cannot avoid using the road. The moment you think of entering the road space, then you have already risked your life. And it is across the world. That is why the whole world, we are recording 1.3 million deaths annually. That is global. Every country is recording. Unless a country that has no roads, has no vehicle, and no people interacting. The very moment you create that environment for people to sit in vehicles, sit on motorbikes, sit on bicycles, and even walk within a road space, you have introduced a certain risk factor. Even if there should be a crash, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody must die or get injured out of it. It means that we cannot avoid crash. It will definitely happen. Now, when it happens, what other countries are doing that all of us are trying to do is that it should not result in the death of a human being, because we can prevent it. To the extent that Ghana, we are recording 2,924 deaths in a year. 2021 was the figure. This year alone, we have recorded 469 deaths in 2 months, January and February alone. This week, possibly, the police and us, the National Road Safety Authority, will come out with the figures for March, and then we can accumulate it and bring it out for people to see. There are drivers who sit behind steering wheel. We tell them that if you drive continuously for 2 hours or 4 hours, for example, by law, look for a very safe place, rest stop or somewhere, move off, park safely, rest by coming out of the vehicle, take water to wash your face, strengthen yourself by walking around a little, and even if you want to sleep, sleep for 30 minutes and continue.
Ghana report shows a decline in the use of mobile money platforms since the introduction of the e-levy. Well, there are varied reasons for this worrying development, but Dorothy Ajumai is standing by to speak with a trader group to help us appreciate why this trend. Stay with us.
Good afternoon and welcome. Time now for the business segment, and I am Dorothy Achimai. It's back to cash-based business as trade associations in the country report of a general shift from electronic money transactions by members. The turnaround comes as government prepares to implement the 1.5% levy on electronic transactions. The value of mobile money or MOMO transactions fell from 82.9 billion in 2021 to 76.2 billion in January 2022, its lowest since August last year. Mr. Joseph Obeng is the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, and he joins us via phone with a conversation on this issue. Good afternoon and welcome, Doc.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Thank you for joining us. Doctor, can you confirm that your members are also switching to cash transactions rather than electronic business?
Yeah, I don't have any scientific figures to suggest that. But, you know, that service has been optional from day one. So it depends on the conveniency of the business that you are doing, the transaction. There's no compulsion in here.
Okay.
So if I have to put figures to suggest that people are stopped using or otherwise, I may not be truthful to the fact.
Right, right. But do you think members can avoid electronic transactions completely? Do you think it's possible?
No, this time it has become very essential and very integral part of the way of doing business for convenience sake, for timeliness and all that. I think it will be difficult that people would just leave the system because of the introduction of the tax. Yeah, that's why initially we were just talking about the rate of the tax to be affordable,
right?
So that the compliance level will be high. That has always been my argument. Yeah.
Right, Doug. The e-levy was purposed to rope in the informal sector into the tax net. You think it would serve its purpose?
Yeah. You see, we've always been talking about parity.
Sure.
In tax payment. And if you actually have to observe, taxes are being paid just around just a few people. And so some occasions we have even protested that the online business that is coming to take out the traditional businesses should also be taxed. And so we have sent petitions about 2 times from 2020 when the average made it that the online business have become the norm, to the extent that it's taking the traditional businesses out. But if we don't have problem with that, because we also use the same internet trading or online trading to enhance on our business. But for fairness and parity, those who are not hooked up to the tax net should also come in. That's why we are pursuing. All this underlying factor is that whatever tax that will be paying should be affordable so that the compliance level should be high.
Right, Doug, before I allow you to go, the general complaint is about education on the e-levy. You think with more education it will be easier to accept?
Yeah, education is very essential. And that, you know, the town hall meetings that they did, we were not particularly involved in that. And so as soon as practicable, they should come to the trading sector so that we discuss what it actually entails. Because people are also afraid that there will amount double taxation. And so we have questions to ask. Whether when we do, we are taxed on our sales through the e-levy, will we be able to deduct it when we are filing our tax? All these questions need to be answered. And so the earlier we do education, the better.
Right, Doc. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Obeng. And that was the president of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, discussing with us why some traders may revert to cash transactions rather than digital transaction. And he said more education will make it easier to accept. Members of the Ghana Hairdressers and Beauticians Association, GBEWAA, have been advised to be abreast of current technological trends in their line of work. Speaking at the 50th anniversary of the association in Accra, the General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Mr. Morgan Ayawini, said applying technology to their work would make it efficient and competitive.
The Beauticians Association, GBEWAA, was established in 1972 with the objective of promoting their businesses and aligning the beauty industry to that of international standards. The association currently has over 6,000 members across the 16 regions of the country. In marking the 50th anniversary of GBEWAA, the national president of GBEWAA, Madam Tina Ofeyuinchi, said GBEWAA is positioning itself to take advantage of the current technological trends to remain relevant and competitive.
The time has come for us as actors in the beauty industry to take advantage of digital solutions to manage and promote our business to remain competitive in this technological era. In this view, the executives have engaged some experts in digital solutions to tailor-make some digital solutions relevant to our line of business. We will urge all members to embrace these interventions when the time comes for it to roll out.
The General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Mr. Morgan Ayawini, lauded the association for their efforts in equipping the youth with skills to reduce unemployment in the country. He, however, called on them to digitalize the operations to keep their positions in the competitive industry.
Digitalization has become the mantra for the activities in Ghana today. It is therefore encouraging that GBEWAA is adopting digital solutions in the hair and beauty industry. I have indicated earlier that you have to wake up from your slumber so that you are not left behind.
The 50th anniversary of the Ghana Hairdressers and Beauticians Association (GBEWAA) was on the theme accelerating the adoption of digital solutions in the hair and beauty industry, the role of GBEWAA.
Trading at 7 cedis to the US dollar, to the pound sterling at 9 cedis 33 pesos and 7 cedis 77 pesos to the euro. Let's have the figures and the price of gold, cocoa and light from the commodity board.